basically, figured I'd keep you in suspense till the show started. We're trying to figure out what the fuck is on the corner of the street. The street, the turnoff of to come to your house. I don't know. It's the main street off Sunset.
Yeah.
And there's a fucking guy on the corner, and he's got a cape. And we didn't know. We could see the front of him. All we saw was him dancing, swinging a fucking sign around.
Okay.
And we just didn't know what was going on. Then I was like, is that Darth Vader? So we turned around, and it's a full-on Darth Vader costume. And this dude's just dancing, holding the sign. So when we turned, I wanted to see what the sign said, but it was so much stuff on that sign. I could not read it. But I wish I'd had a couple of bucks because I would have given it to him just for that costume. It was so awesome.
You're so epic, bro.
So, yeah, no, that was really cool. So that's just my little side note for the day because, that was just surprising and cool. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So welcome back to Discord Accords with Jonathan and Steven. I think this is our second episode or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. But, so I have to say, one of the things that really stood out in the past weeks for me was the guy who took the plane for a joyride down there in Seattle.
Dude, I had totally forgotten that happened until you reminded me.
Yeah.
And then it reminded me of how epic it was.
Yeah. So many things had to happen, like good, bad, or otherwise, for that to take place. He had he had clearance. He was an airport baggage handler. He was out there every day, messing with bags and whatnot. And it's just to me, it strikes me as like one of those things like it used to be like back in the olden days, if you will, that, he would have landed, they'd have slapped him on the wrist, gave him a, high five and told him not to do it again. But nowadays, if he'd landed that plane, he'd be in prison for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
For a MARSEC violation.
I just think it's hilarious. Did you hear about because I read a little bit about the aftermath, and everyone was so blown away that he could do that he had the skills. Mm-hmm. And I heard some of the cockpit talk.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, I just play a lot of video games." Do
you know what game he played?
No.
It was a Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I figured it was a flight simulator,
okay.
But that's interesting.
Not only is this a flight simulator, but it is a flight simulator that actually they use to train pilots. This is the software they run in those big actual cockpit recreations. This is that software.
Why are civilians allowed to play that?
Because it's just a Microsoft game. They invented it way back in I want to say the 386s or at least the first Pentium era things, and where it was just all blocks and little weird yellow dials. Well, my brother had a copy of it for a while, but it wasn't as realistic back then. Nowadays, it probably is a pretty one-on-one. Not only that, but there is a DLC for it that actually is the A400 jet that he flew. So you pay, I think it's like $128 for the game and that thing, and you just put it on your computer. You get a cockpit set up, and then it's all there. You can learn how to fly a plane from that video game, 100%. Now, they're starting to talk about reasons why he did it. And one of the reasons that I think he did it was his grandfather, who he looked up to, was a World War II combat pilot and became a commercial pilot for TWA and flew for 21 years with them and retired as an international admiral from TWA. And he was like the ultra patriarch, everybody in the clan looked up and whatever, and he died back in 2014. I don't think there's anything with the death or whatever, but I think that he basically was from what they're talking about, they haven't fully said or whatever, but they're talking about the fact that he was trying to emulate him in some way, was trying to, do barrel rolls and things that the old naval aviators were known for, barrel rolls and loop-de-loops and stuff like that. And, and he pulled off some amazing stunts in that thing, which, a lot of people are like, how do you do that in a plane, But they've got those flight simulators down pretty well. Actually, quick note is the guys who flew into the World Trade Center trained on the same program. The terrorists. They use Microsoft Flight Simulator.
That's insane. I guess it's just kind of weird, to think that that sophisticated of a system is something you can, as a civilian, you can train on and literally teach yourself to get in a plane and fly it with those maneuvers. Did he have a history of mental illness?
I haven't read anything where he did,
because he sounded fucking insane when he was in he was in the cockpit.
He just sounded like a guy who was to me, he sounded like a guy who just was in over his head, didn't really know what was going on, and he was just trying to laugh it off. He was nervous, scared.
Well, wasn't there some personal shit that went down? Like, wasn't there like something to do with it? Like something happened in his life that had set him off. I don't know.
I haven't read anything.
I haven't read
anything either.
I have done very little reading
research on that. But
I just thought it was kind of weird.
The ancillary part to that was the fact that I found the most information about what he did in his life on the BBC website. I went looking for information. All of our local.
Yeah, you would think being in Washington, we would have no information.
The BBC was going into his grandfather, going into his wife, going into all like his family life, his histories. All this stuff was done by the BBC. A nice in-depth article about a guy who stole a plane in America. They're like, yeah, a guy stole a plane, crashed into an island. Boom. Next.
I feel like it should be a bigger deal than that. Like
I think it should be too. I mean,
it was kind of epic, honestly.
I haven't flown since then, but you know that the security is a little bit more tense down there at SeaTac these days.
I can imagine. I mean, but honestly, the reason I think it should be a bigger deal is what if something worse had happened?
Oh yeah, what if he crashed into a building in downtown Seattle?
Yeah, like so. That's just kind of crazy to think, but that's just so bizarre to me. I don't know. When I read about it, I thought I found out the night the night it happened or the day whenever Joe Rogan posted on Instagram about some crazy dude in Seattle who crashed a plane, and I was like, well, that sounds crazy. Why isn't that on any of the main news pages I checked? But nobody was talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why, but
yeah, it wasn't a big deal until somebody thought it was a big deal, and it became a big deal. It's one of those news cycle things that we're stuck in these days. But yeah, no, that was interesting to me, like the whole aspects of that. And I'm gonna keep reading up and give an update later if I find out more information. But yeah, just like the fact that the BBC had more information. You get a little bit more information from this guy. The other thing was the F-15s that were tracking him. They flew out of Oregon, down there somewhere in Bend, Oregon, I think. And it's like 190 miles away, and they were here in like 2 minutes. Because they were doing like Mach 2. I mean, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they can hit about 1,600 miles an hour.
I didn't think about that with how fast they had to get here, because obviously they were... I would imagine if he had headed towards civilian population, they would have shot him down.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And they were... actually, from what I understand, the air traffic controllers were actually trying to... I think they actually talked to the pilots and gave them that guy's information. So I think they talked directly to him. And I haven't heard that information. I hadn't heard any recordings or anything between the military pilots and him, if they actually did speak to him directly.
I don't know who I heard talking to him. I heard someone talking to him, and I heard his responses. I don't know if that was ground control.
That was air traffic control at
CTAT,
trying to get him to land or whatever.
Well... What I have is a bit different, because I find shit like this to be so ridiculously cool / scary, is a giant squid just washed up on shore, like perfectly intact. Like, they don't even know what killed it. They said it had a scratch on its head, and there's no way that did it.
Where did it wash up?
I believe it washed up in Wellington, New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, the cause of death is unknown. It was 14 feet long, which to me is fucking insane. But scientists
get big.
Yeah, scientists don't. They don't even consider it colossal at that point. It's just giant. Colossals, squids can be up to 60 feet long, and they have wider heads. And as far as I know, we've never found a fully intact colossal squid.
No, that's one of those deep sea mysteries. There are actually some giant squids. Like, first giant squid we ever saw alive attacked a Japanese fishing boat about 6 years ago. And they had a camera on a probe in the water, just like grabbing them, like, holy crap! And it ended up being like a 15, 18 footer or whatever.
Yeah, because from what I've read, they the bigger ones, because obviously they thrive at super deep. So because of the pressure.
Which makes sense with New Zealand because there's a lot of trenches around there.
Yeah. So when the bigger ones die and come up, the reason we'll probably never get an attack one unless we get lucky is because it starts getting eaten on its way up. Like they said, everything attacks it so quickly because it's meat, in the ocean. So.
Yeah, there's been histories. The reason they knew about colossal squid was when they were doing whaling, they'd whale sperm whales, and they'd come up with these dinner plate size saucer rings on them because sperm whales eat them. I mean, it's a constant battle between colossal squid and sperm whales, and They would also wash up occasionally on shore in Japan, but they didn't. That's where a lot of the old ancient sea monster mythos came from. Decaying carcasses or half-eaten decaying carcasses come up, and they think they were sea dragons or whatever else down there.
Well, sperm whales in and of themselves are scary because they're just this giant
Carnivore.
and they literally I can just picture it in my head. Like them battling in the deep seas, like they're battling with giant squid.
It's that same mental image I get from like a Triceratops with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Which I'm not sure if they were in the same age or they ever actually did battle, but I remember this really very vividly. This encyclopedia when I was a kid had this like full page spread on dinosaurs, and it had a Triceratops spearing a Tyrannosaurus as it was biting it on its back. So like, combatants were both going to die and locked in combat or whatever. It's like, I think, but from what I've heard, I think T-Rexes were more carrion eaters, more opportunists.
Well,
which you'd have to be to get that big back then.
There's so many different things about dinosaurs just because they're fucking awesome. Yeah. But if they ever find the truth out, I don't really want to know because I want to imagine a T-Rex battling with a Triceratops or just battling in general with something else that wants to kill it. Yeah, it just seems amazing. So I don't want to know the truth if they find out.
Yeah. Now the other thing, what is it? And I don't want them to be covered in feathers. I don't want them to have feathers.
That's totally imagine how
that's my flat Earth line right there. Dinosaurs do not have feathers.
Imagine if fucking Jurassic Park would have been a bunch of dinosaurs running around with feathers. You're watching a movie about birds at that point. You're watching a movie imagine T-Rex covered in birds.
Oh,
I don't even understand that.
Yeah, insane.
But I don't know. I just thought the giant squid's cool. Anytime something comes up about the ocean, I find it interesting and just so fucking frightening. Because there's so much we don't know.
Yeah, no, it's we know a little bit more about space than we know more about the moon than we do about the bottom of the ocean.
And that's just so weird to me. I understand obviously it covers a significant part of the earth, but
I think it's actually honestly it's you can talk a lot about hostile environments, but I do believe the pressures at the bottom of the ocean pose more of an issue to humanity than the vacuum of space. We can prepare against a vacuum much easier than we can crushing pressure at the bottom of the...
Did you watch that awesome YouTube video? And since I'm talking about it, I'll be sure to put this in the show notes about what would happen if they put a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench.
I did.
That was fucking insane.
I've watched 2 of those actually, and they actually contradicted each other. One of them basically said that nothing would happen, and one of them said it would destroy the Earth. So I'd like to see a little bit more research on that.
Yeah, me too, because I trust in a nutshell.
It was in a nutshell, and they're the ones who said it would do a lot of damage, right?
No, they're the ones that it wouldn't do any damage. Okay. They were the pressures.
It was khrushchev, or it's some weird foreign word I can't remember, khrushchev. Anyway, whatever. We'll link it in the description.
Yeah, we'll put both down there so you guys can check them out.
But yeah, no, they seem to think that it could actually cause the destabilization of the crust.
I don't understand how it couldn't. You're talking about a bomb, 10 times, 100 times more powerful?
Literally what you're talking about is what I'm talking about, is pressure of the Earth. That's what they brought out in a nutshell. The pressure at the bottom of the ocean would contain the explosion. It would just be a dirty bomb. It would just irradiate the surrounding area, but it wouldn't have enough to move that weight of water that's pushing down on it.
It's so crazy. But mainly, I don't really think any governments need any more ideas about where to test bombs, since they're obviously running out of space to test them.
Well, they could test them in, Pyongyang, if you ask me. But anyway. Yeah. Giant squid.
What was, did you have any other news?
No, just moving on into the,
Well, I had one that I just found today.
Right.
And it's fucking crazy. There was a dude who was attacked by a bear and a shark in the same year. Within the same 12-month period.
A bear and a shark.
Yeah. But here's where it gets weirder. Okay. Is if you go back 3 years, he can say he was bitten by a rattlesnake, he was attacked by a shark, and he was attacked by a bear, all within 36 months.
All I have to say to that is he must be tasty.
Well,
I want to eat him. I want to kill him and eat him because he must be super tasty for 3 different types of animals to try to eat him.
It's something crazy, and the craziest part is, which I'm glad he has this sentiment, obviously, but he said he doesn't blame the bear, the shark, or the snake. He loves to be outdoors, and nothing's going to stop him. He was hiking out in Moab, and he got bit by the snake. Then he was camping, and a fucking black bear grabbed him by the back of the head, drug him about 12 feet.
While he was sleeping?
Yeah, he was sleeping, and he grabbed him, drug him 12 feet, clamped his head pretty good. Then he let him go because he was fighting him as hard as he could. He stomped on him, and then the rest of the camp's heard, and they basically scared it off.
Nice.
And then I believe that was in July. So then April of the next year, he was surfing, and he got attacked by a tiger shark. It wasn't a serious injury, gashed his leg. He said the biggest thing was he couldn't go back in the water for a few days, but he said he was on a trip, and he knew his trip time was ticking down. So like after like 2 days, he duct taped it and put saran wrap around it and got back in the water to surf.
He's lucky he didn't get eaten by another shark.
Yeah, like that's...
No, and that actually brings me back to a point where, like, it's like I'm not going to besmirch a man's reputation or whatnot, but why? What does it take to be in... I mean, either he's excessively unlucky and lucky to survive it all, or there's something he's doing or a way he's doing something. Like, say he's walking off trail around rattlesnakes, which you probably shouldn't do. Like he's going under the cliffs or whatever, looking at where they hide, or he forgot to put his food up or whatever when the black bear got him, or he was surfing somewhere where they said danger, shark warning. He's like, it doesn't apply to me. Like what? That's where I'd be curious about, like what he is what he's doing to bring on himself. And again, like I said, I'm not besmirching. Maybe it's completely 100%. Whoops, weird shit happens.
Well, I mean, with the bear, obviously, we both know about camping. If you don't hide your food, put it up appropriately, you're probably going to have a bear or a raccoon problem if you're in one of their areas. But when you're talking about surfing or hiking, like, you can do your best to avoid snakes. But if you're in Moab, you're going to have some issues. Like,
yeah, but I used to hike around in Texas all the time, and we saw snakes all the time, but I knew not to.
Well, yeah, I would hike in places in Alabama and stuff with snakes, but sometimes you just don't see it. I know rattlesnakes are louder than other snakes, but and then with the ocean, it's like, shit, man.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
You're rolling the dice every time you go out there.
I just think it's cool that he's not going to let that stop him, because I can tell you right now, if I was a surfer, which I'm most assuredly not, if I was, it'd take one shark attack, and I don't know if I'd fucking shower again. That's how scared I'd be of shark attacks.
They're coming up the drain! They're coming up the drain!
Like, I would just be so scared of water at that point.
No, that actually kind of reminds me of a story where I was actually camping in Arizona in the White Mountains, which I'm surprisingly about aliens, a whole other episode. but no, I was backpacking and I was sleeping. It was warm enough. We just had sleeping bags outside, so I had my backpack under my head and I was sleeping. And all of a sudden my head thumps on the ground. I'm like, what the? I look up and there's a bear. I grabbed my backpack and was dragging away. I was like, what? And he looked at me when I made noise. He was like, oh shit! And he ran off. Dropped everything, ran off. But similar, he could have grabbed me by the back of the head instead of my bag, But
well, it's crazy to think about, because I think sometimes at night they're grabbing at whatever they think they smell. It's like the thing with when mountain lions.
Maybe
I think
he'd rubbed like beef jerky in his head before he went to bed.
That would be bizarre, but I guess it's possible. But like with mountain lions,
I don't know about products these days.
Grabbing people out of tents, man, and dragging them out. Like, I don't really think the mountain lion's being malicious. Obviously, I don't think it possesses that part of its brain, like to be.
I mean, it's a cat, but yeah.
But that is true. Cats are evil, but and it just drags motherfuckers out of their tent, and that's crazy to me. I cannot think of a scarier thing to happen in the middle of the night than to be camping and get drug out of your tent by a mountain lion or a bear or like any kind of predator like that.
The only thing I can think of worse than that is like either an alien abduction.
I'd rather an alien abduction.
Or a werewolf. But a werewolf would be cool because if I survived, I'd become one, and that would be awesome.
No, you just raise the ante by even bringing a werewolf up, because that is 10 times more terrifying than a bear or a mountain lion.
Yeah.
And yes, I would take an alien abduction over any of those, like 100%.
I don't know, man.
Because I probably won't remember any of it.
Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe you never come back.
That's a stereotype. I don't think they appreciate that.
Well, I think that maybe they take you up there and they put you like in a prison, and you're like, you get stuck in the barrel, and you're the alien sex slave for a while.
I don't want to think about that. I guess if we
That's the probing.
I guess if we start bringing that up, then yes, the alien abduction becomes worse. But
there
I mean, you're adding all kind of caveats to it.
It's all about how you think about the alien abduction.
No, I don't want to give aliens that kind of reputation.
A little bit.
So yeah, that's all I had. That story kind of stuck out to me today because I saw it and I was like, well, that's pretty interesting shit. So yeah, got to talk about that. But what's our main story today?
Looks like we are going to be talking about the problem, maybe, with the Venom movie.
And just a warning to everyone, you are going to just get nerded out sometimes. Like, this is just going to happen. Like, sometimes we're going to talk about Marvel. We're going to talk about DC. I can greatly testify to Steven's nerdiness of comic book knowledge. So we're just telling you ahead of time. This is what's going to happen. So buckle up.
Yeah, so I think you have a little bit of a problem with the rating system, which I agree with 100%. Well, I don't agree with 100%. Let me backtrack that. I would like to see a rated R Venom. I have no problem with that. I'd like to see rated R everything. Every movie ever made should be rated R, in my opinion. There should be violence, sex, nudity in every fucking movie. I don't care if it's a kid's movie about like Gumby. Gumby should get blown away, or like maybe
no,
Pony
I don't
has a
agree
gun.
with any of that.
Point being is that I don't think that you need a rated R movie on a Venom. I don't know. I guess my main problem is I can't separate Venom from Spider-Man, and that is something that Sony's trying to do. And if you could separate it, that's great. But what you have is like Spawn on steroids.
Well, let me interject just real quick before we jump into that, because that's a whole different thing, obviously. My issue with the rating isn't that they're not going to rate it R. My issue is I was told, as a fan, millions of us were told that we were going to get a rated R Venom. And to my mind, when I think about rated R comic book movies, there's so few of them, but Logan is one of the best ones ever made. So imagine if they had told us 2 months before Logan came out that they were going to edit it down and put a PG-13 rating so they could make more money, basically. But they didn't. They stayed true. It made a fuck ton of money, and it was a beautiful movie. Obviously, I'm not putting Logan on the same scale as Venom because it's something different. It's more action. It wasn't the same. My point is I was told.
Right.
So therefore, I was expecting some badass Venom violence. The dude has the mouth full of sharp razor teeth.
But the problem with that is, like, was there ever a comic book of Venom that was rated R? Did he ever bite people's heads off? Did he ever snap people in half?
I have no idea. I'm not the comic book reader.
The
Was there?
No,
okay.
There's not. And that's what I'm saying. So to stay more true to the comic, they shouldn't put a rated R on it. And I'm not, like I said, I don't care one way or the other, honestly. But if,
well, then everything's more fun with bad language too. We gotta remember that.
Exactly. Well, bad language you can do. Otherwise, you get one fuck and 2 shits per, or 1 shit and 2 fucks per PG-13.
No, I think it's like 5 fucks and all the shit you want.
Really? Because I thought shit was actually more of a.
No, I'm
thing
pretty
than
sure
a fuck.
you can say goddamn. You can say I think.
Well, goddamn, oddly enough, isn't actually a really hard word. But shit and fuck are the ones they really don't like in movies.
I don't know, but yeah. So everything's better with bad language. But
I
anyway, go ahead.
But so there's no precedence for rated R Venom. There are precedents in comics for rated R's, like the Max line that had Jessica Jones. It was called Alias. That was a rated R comic. I mean, there was a lot of language, nudity in there. There was anal sex. I mean, there was like a lot of things in there that made it a Max comic. The Punisher has been a Max comic, and a rated R Punisher is amazing in my opinion. I mean, that really terrible Ray Stevenson Punisher movie, I think it was rated R.
It was.
And it had a lot of aspects of the Punisher that I really liked. Ray Stevenson didn't really pull it off completely. But,
that one was too cartoony to me.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it. And then the Thomas Jane one,
I never liked that.
Was too I didn't mind
that
his
was
performance,
PG-13.
but it was R.
It was?
Yeah, it was R.
The Thomas Jane one?
Yeah, the Thomas Jane one. But the problem is they kind of, even in a rated R Thomas Jane Punisher, they still dumbed it down, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like the torture scene, I'll never forget when he's cooking the meat and he's putting the popsicle on the guy. So it's like,
now here's the deal. That's straight out of the comic.
Yeah, but
literally out of the comic. He's up there towards a torch, and then he actually comments himself. You can't tell it when you're like straight up in fear and you can't see it. You can't tell the difference between extreme cold and extreme heat.
Well, I get that, but like the thing is, I actually read that comic, so like we knew that as comic because I love Punisher, so I've read all of his, or most of them. But when you start looking at that, I mean that's a whole different thing. But I mean, yeah, no, I agree. Like, the Thomas Jane Punisher, it was a rough movie. Like it had a lot of problems.
Of course, we will both agree that the Netflix Punisher is a bazillion times better than all of them.
Yes,
100%.
It was a little slow.
And I do hazard to guess that that's pretty fucking rated R. So yeah. But no, like I said, there's never been a precedence for a Venom rated R comic. So I would not have had a problem with the PG-13 rating as much as I have a problem of them denying the existence of Spider-Man. So that is a huge fucking problem for me.
So let me ask you this. So, by the way, just so everybody knows, the director has said he can't confirm nor deny Spider-Man's in it. And the reason they're going to make the rating shift, allegedly, because all this is alleged, is because they want to put Spider-Man cameo in so then they can wrangle Venom into the universe, and they can't do that if it's rated R.
Right, exactly.
So now that everybody's caught up with that,
I don't think Tom Holland's old enough to star in a rated R movie. Kidding. Sorry, Tom.
Now that everybody's caught up with that, as a Spider-Man reader and a Spider-Man fan, I will ask you this. If they put him in as a cameo, will that right some of that wrong, since Spider-Man still will not be involved with the creation of Venom?
No. Okay. Not at all, because Venom is literally... He has originally was created as to have the powers of Spider-Man, so he would have a foil. A Spider-Man that is stronger, because Venom originally with Eddie Brock was stronger than Spider-Man. He wasn't as fast reacting, but he basically added the strength of Spider-Man with Eddie Brock's. He was steroid weightlifter guy, so he had more strength than Peter Parker. So he was physically stronger than Spider-Man, but he had all of Spider-Man's powers, and he could also dodge Spider-Man's spider sense.
So he couldn't realize he was coming.
He really never, yeah. So that was the main foil. He was basically Spider-Man, but stronger and undetectable. So that's what Venom was. Where was I going with that? But yeah, so anyway, so basically the powers that the symbiote, let's get that right, because that was a huge thing on the internet.
Yeah.
Symbiote.
People blew up about that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whatever. It's a comic book. We can read it however we want. But anyway, so the symbiote took the powers of Spider-Man. So now if you basically take Spider-Man out of the equation, why does he get the powers he gets? From the trailer, honestly, it looks like he doesn't have webbing. He just has the tendrils and the teeth. And I haven't seen him wall crawl. I haven't seen him... shoot a web longer than his.
Well, I'm telling you, it looks like that fucking video game. I can't remember the name of it. It was a great game. They made two of them.
Evolved?
No, it's I can't remember the name. I'll look it up and put it in the show notes. But yeah, it looks just like that game because that shit's coming off his body, like when it comes out of his back and stuff and takes people out. That's cool.
And honestly,
looking,
it's like, and honestly, that is actually a evolution of Venom. To be honest with you, because they have when Carnage got involved and this, that, and the other. But Venom originally was a black costume, bulkier. The teeth were the only difference between him and Spider-Man. He shot webs out, and that was the thing when Spider-Man originally got the symbiote, whatever, fuck it. Anyway, whenever he got the costume, he used the costume gave him unlimited webbing because it emulated his webbing. He no longer had to use his his homemade web shooters in the comics. So that's what the costume gave him. Emulated that power even. Because it uses some of itself and this, that, and the other. But as the progression of Venom went on, it became less about him shooting webs and more about his tendrils emulating the webbing. And then when you got to Carnage was all about just blades and goo and oozing crap everywhere and whatnot. So it became more and more along those lines. But because of Carnage, Venom started taking on more of the tendrils as part of the black goo of the costume becoming his webbing, if you will. But originally, Venom shot webs just like Spider-Man did. So and that's something that's I haven't seen in the... Maybe in the movie, what they could do in the movie, honestly, is this is a symbiote that basically has this goo power, and then he meets or sees Spider-Man and decides to emulate him in some way, and that's where he gets wall crawling. That's where he gets the spider on his chest. That's where he gets the webbing. So, I mean, that could play into it with just a cameo.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, basically, if he does... So we can pretty much both agree that you can almost...
Oh, God, we should have spoiler warned this shit in case we were, ruining the movie for somebody. But anyway...
Spoiler warning. We know just as much as everybody else.
That's true. We are just
Yeah, so if you didn't watch the trailer, sorry, spoiler warning.
Yeah.
So say we can pretty much guess what Marvel's going to do most of the time with their pretty formulaic layout. So if they put Spider-Man in at the end, say he sees him on TV or some shit, and he's like, oh, that's going to be a problem. So then like say Venom meets him in the next movie, because obviously they're going to make a sequel. Mm-hmm. So then they already have the villains planned out for Spider-Man. I forgot the name of the second one, but they already have the villains laid out.
Something
about a dance. Okay,
Or Homecoming.
Was that the first one?
That was the first one. So
I don't know.
Anyway, whatever.
So either way, if they introduce him, that's one thing. But my question is, you can look at the trailer and you can see that they went down that path with a rated R mindset. Since they all said, hey, we're going to rate this R. Look at Deadpool. Look at Logan. Mm-hmm. So it's a dark movie. The tone is dark. You can tell from the trailer. It's going to be on the darker side. Yeah. But when you look at Spider-Man Homecoming, it's the opposite. And obviously, we're not going to go into the events of Infinity War in case anybody hadn't seen it or whatever. But the second Spider-Man is probably going to be a bit darker, obviously, because of the turn they took. So even so, like to my mind, I guess I have to wait till I see it, but I don't know how it's going to meld into the movie, even if they tack on a Spider-Man cameo at the end, especially with the possible introduction of Carnage, which is what everyone's thinking he will be in the second one.
And that's the thing, is like if they tack a cameo on, and like again, I go back to the comic book, which they're going to jack the origin, whatever, but it emulates Spider-Man because that's who he touched first, and that's what I was going to go into. If he had touched Thor first, if he had touched the Hulk first, anybody who was involved on Battle World during the original Secret Wars or whatever the hell it was called, with the Beyonder and a bunch of shit that I don't want to geek out too much, but he was the first one he touched, so those are the powers he knows. So if Venom happens to be watching the news and sees Spider-Man, it's like, why does he choose Spider-Man? Fuck, if I was the symbiote, I would choose the Hulk.
Oh yeah,
or Thor.
Yeah,
or Iron Man or somebody. That's whose powers I'd emulate. And that's this little smart alecky kid. So there's going to have to be some kind of a physical contact or something.
See, and you just raised another good point, because they could give us a cheap cameo with Spider-Man on the TV. Like that could be.
That's literally that's what I'm thinking. You know, something cheap. It's not going to be like Spider-Man's going to show up, because here's the other deal. This movie's taking place in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Spider-Man's in New York.
Yeah.
Why is he in San Francisco? Was he on like a school trip?
Well, the other question is, was Tom Hardy a good choice? And this is coming from a Tom Hardy supporter. I love Tom Hardy. I love what he's done with his career. He's a phenomenal actor. But he said he literally said the reason he wanted to do the movie when he got offered to him is he thought Venom was a cool character. That's what he said. Yeah. So like, I do know that he put a lot of work into differentiating between Brock, or whoever is it, Brock
Eddie
in the movie,
Brock,
Eddie. So between Brock and Venom, he put a lot of thought into their personalities and voices and all that. But does he fit Venom from the comic book?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a short, not short, but he's stocky. He's bulky. If you put Tom Hardy next to the kid, Tom Holland, both Toms, weird. If you put them both next to each other, that is basically the Spider-Man Venom ethos. I mean, like he's a big, bulky, intimidating guy versus a little skinny punk kid.
If I remember from watching the Spider-Man cartoon when I was a kid, Eddie Brock was an astronaut.
Negative. That was James Jonah Jameson's son was the astronaut who could turn into a space werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was Eddie Brock? Was he a
Eddie
reporter?
Brock was a reporter.
Okay, so he's a reporter
who couldn't get and he all of his best stories kept getting scooped by Peter Parker, because Peter Parker had the advantage of being Spider-Man.
So they hated each other, or he hated Peter Parker not knowing he was Spider-Man.
Eddie Brock hated Peter Parker, Venom hated Spider-Man. That's why they came together.
Oh, okay.
Mutual hatred.
So do you think Tom Hardy was a good? You think he was a good cast?
No,
okay.
Well,
me too.
Tom Hardy's like great in anything, but I do believe that even if it was like Pie in the Sky or whatever, this is a Marvel movie. If this Venom movie was a Marvel movie or whatever, and they had Spider-Man full access, and it went PG-13, and they went and they tried to completely reboot the Spider-Man franchise, fuck Sony out of the picture, all straight up Disney MCU universe. I think Tom Hardy still would be the best choice for Venom, because he brings an amazing amount of personality to the character. And in the comic books, when Eddie Brock makes the shift to anti-hero versus not, I think Tom Holland would bring that as well.
And you just brought up the other question I had for you. The movie seems to be starting off with him being an anti-hero. Like that was the other thing. I think that's why they have to introduce. They're going to introduce Carnage, because rumor has it Woody Harrelson's going to play him.
Right, which makes sense.
But then who was the other? Because Riz Ahmed has to play the other one, and what's his name?
I don't remember. There's actually there after I stopped reading comics, they went off into the symbiote wars, and there are actually two other. If they broke down the trailers, two different other symbiotes in there besides Venom. There's Riz Ahmed and there's somebody else, and I don't know who the somebody else is. But there are two other ones, and I don't know all the different characters that were the different symbiotes. So.
Well, I don't mind the Woody Harrelson casting, because I like Woody Harrelson. But I guess me, along with a bunch of other people, because I saw this online as well, when it comes to Carnage casting, he was basically a redneck serial killer in the comic book. His name was Cletus Cassidy.
Yep.
But
you didn't know he's a redneck. His name's Cletus.
Jackie Earle Haley, in my mind, would have been the perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
I think pretty much everyone
because
thinks
Jackie
that.
Earle Haley is a redneck serial killer who actually just got famous in Hollywood, so we didn't have to start killing people.
And speaking of him, just in case anybody's wondering who he is, he played Rorschach in The Watchmen, and that pretty much made his career.
And he said who Rorschach was, because Watchmen is whatever.
But he also
got the mask.
Didn't he play the bad guy in Little Women?
I do not recall
I'm pretty
that.
sure he
I
did,
have
which
seen
is
the movie
weird.
a couple of times.
Yeah, me too. And
what was the quote-unquote bad guy of
I
Little
don't
Women?
know if you want to call it a bad
was
guy.
Was he like the guy who...
I can't remember that. I'm going to look
Was there
it up.
some raping going on? I mean, it really wasn't that bad of a bad guy situation.
I don't know.
All I know is Christian Bale was in that, and Claire Danes. He did a great job as the...
Hey, they're remaking it,
brain
too.
dead person in it. Whatever. But no, he was also Freddy Krueger in the reboot.
Yeah, which was just an awful
mistake
of a movie. Yeah, so scratch that. I was gonna look it up, but now I'm not. I'm pretty. He was in something weird where he played like a weird. I don't want to say when I say bad guy, I mean antagonist.
Was he like kind of like the bully from A Christmas Story, but he would have been like 90 by now. So
no, I don't know.
Maybe just because he had red hair. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it might be because he has red hair. But anyway, I like him, and I think he would have been perfect. I think he would have been perfect as Carnage.
Yeah.
But now I don't know. It'll be cool to. I really hope we get to see Woody Harrelson transform. I don't think they're going to. I think they're probably going to introduce him.
Do you know the how it happened?
I don't know any. No, I don't know anything. I mean, I know in the comic book, but I don't know how they're going to introduce it.
But in the comic book, you know how it happened? They were cellmates, Eddie Brock, after Venom, at the symbiote abandoned him. And so Eddie Brock and Cletus were cellmates at Rikers. Or I don't know if they're in Rikers. Maybe it's Rikers, but not the island. Which the island is.
I don't remember it being an island. Yeah.
Well, Rikers is an island.
Yeah, but I don't remember the prison being on an island.
Yeah, the island. They call it the island or whatever, which is where they send the superhumans. Because Eddie Brock had no venom, they put him into regular prison. But anyway, so the symbiote broke him out, but it was wounded, and so it left a bit of its goo behind. And that's where it bonded with Cletus, the little bit of goo.
Yeah, and I guess that's just a prime example of what happens when you bond with a fucking psycho. Like, because he straight up was a psycho. Like,
yeah, no,
obviously.
He was crazy as hell. The funny thing is, like, I don't know if they retconned it out of existence, but I think it's hilarious. Like, the first, speaking of retconned in general, the Sentry, which was the Marvel Comics wannabe Superman guy, they retconned into existence because he was erased. He was like a super godlike person who, the problem is if he became aware of himself, he created this alter ego, which was a super dark power, same power as him, called the Shadow. Basically, the Sentry storyline in Marvel Comic was total bullshit. It was total shit. But the funny part was where they introduced him was when they actually had a prison break on the island or whatever the Supermax prison is in Marvel. I can't remember. Yes, he's sitting at the very bottom basement level of the prison, just sort of like hanging out in a cell by himself, and the superheroes come to like stop the criminals from escaping or whatever, and they come down the basement like, this is where the biggest bad is, and they're walking in, it's like, who's this guy just sitting there? And he's just like, he's like, I'm the Sentry. He's like, I'm good, don't worry about it. And they're like, okay. But then like Carnage shows up, and so he starts killing guards, and so the Sentry is like he's actually a superhero, and he's like, I'm not gonna stand for this. So he goes and grabs Carnage and flies him into orbit and basically throws him into the sun.
That'll do it.
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
That was the end of Carnage right then and there.
Yeah.
But I thought that was hilarious. I think they retconned it away. I think Carnage came back and this, that, and the other. I don't know. The whole Sentry fiasco of Marvel is just a fucking black mark on them for trying to fucking pander.
Well, I get what you just said made me think of this. I'm really gonna nerd out for a second, dude. Just a little side note. I randomly read comic book facts on Instagram because they have these channels that are just devoted to comic book facts.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a Moon Knight fan. That is another comic book character, and I wish Netflix would make a show out of it. Just the sheer violence of that character and the Egyptian backstory would be so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like it's been rumored for like 4 years, but I mean, I think with the whole Disney thing now and all that, I don't know if we'll ever see a Moon Knight show, but it'd be cool. Either way, I read that the Taskmaster in the comic books always hated to copy. And by the way, Taskmaster can look at someone and mimic how they fight. And he hated
photographic reflexes.
Yeah, and he hated to copy Moon Knight because Moon Knight always preferred to take a punch, and I thought that was funny. Like he hated to fight to copy his style because
right.
Moon Knight just liked to get beat up when he would beat people up. He was just a psycho, and I thought that was cool. So yeah, that was my little nerd fact for the day.
That's more. Yeah, I don't know. I never really got into Moon Knight at all.
I was obsessed with Egyptian shit. I've always been obsessed with Egypt. It's like the coolest shit ever. Like everything about their history, pyramids, sphinxes, everything. Like it's just really cool. So when they have a character like that, like I haven't, like I'm not going to sit here and say I read all his comics, but I mean I did just like him. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean with the whole Venom thing, just back to that. Yeah, I mean I'm excited about it, but I don't like coming from a cinematic point of view. They said they were going to make it rated R. A ton of people got excited. We wanted, especially with the trailer, we wanted to see him bite heads off. We wanted to see him fucking tear people's
He's never been a
limbs
head
off.
off in the comics.
I don't care. They promised the people a rated R movie. They promised us that. So I'm ignoring the comic book. They're ignoring Spider-Man, so we get to ignore the comic book kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I really just wanted to see him pick a dude up and tear his arms off and shit. And now we're probably not going to get that unless they
That'd be
give
a
us...
rated R Hulk movie. That would be
Oh,
worth
wow.
watching.
Jesus.
The Ultimate's Hulk, man, he was a total cannibal, which is interesting because in the rated R Hulk, or sorry, in the Ultimate's Hulk version, Bruce Banner's a vegan. And he's talking to
I didn't know that.
He's like, yeah, he totally is. He's like this vegan, hippie, scientist guy, right? So he's like, when he escapes or whatever, he's working on a ranch with these farmers. These farmers start making fun of him for not eating steak or whatever. And so he transforms into the Hulk, and the Hulk just eats them. Because
So
the
Hulk wasn't
Hulk
vegan.
is a cannibal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Technically, is it cannibalism if he eats a human?
Yes. Well, actually, that's
It's
a good
a gray
point.
area.
Yeah, maybe he's just like that's their cattle. I don't know, but yeah.
But,
Make fun of Hulk, me bite head.
That's fair
I
enough.
think he ate Wolverine and Old Man Logan.
He did, and then Wolverine wanted to get eaten because that was the only way to do it, and then he carved his way out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But that
that
still
was.
technically wouldn't have killed the Hulk.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, me either. Like, I love that comic book. I love that
just
graphic
think-
novel, but yeah.
I just think the best possible cameo for the Venom movie, 100% hands down, would be Captain America saving Jenny Slater.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that Captain America popping up in anything would be a good cameo.
But yeah, that's like Chris Evans' girlfriend.
Yeah, I know.
Ex-girlfriend.
I know. It's
That
just,
would be totally awesome.
yeah, hopefully her character won't be useless because I've seen her in a few movies lately where her character did nothing.
Yeah,
Like-
Gifted.
Yeah, I forgot. She actually did a good job. I enjoyed that
I
movie.
really liked that movie a lot.
But no, the last movie I saw with her was the hotel movie, Hotel Artemis.
I haven't seen that
Yeah,
yet.
she was completely useless.
I didn't
Not
see that.
spoiler alert if you want to hear it. I'm not saying anything about the movie. Her character was just I don't understand from a writing perspective
Yeah.
what the point of her existence was.
Ooh.
But either way, she's a great actress. So I mean, I'm hoping she does good in the movie.
What I don't get is why Jodie Foster put on old lady makeup to make that movie. Why was she older than she was in that movie? Was that part of the movie plot or something?
I can't really. I'm not going to go into spoilers because I mean, I don't think it's out on DVD yet. It kind of was given the history of stuff, but I don't know.
Okay.
Either way, no, dude, I get it. If there wasn't a rated R Venom, I get all that. The point is, the trailers led us to believe with the cuts they do. Like, if you watch enough trailers and know enough about that shit, from the cuts they do, you could tell there's going to be violence. So now what we're going to get is a soft version of it, and I don't know if they're planning on releasing it on Blu-ray. I don't know if they are. Like, so if they release it on Blu-ray, that'll be cool. Mainly at this point, it could mean that they think the movie is not that good. So by rating it R, they were going to cut out a portion of those first weekend buyers.
I'm going to go on record saying the movie's not going to be that good.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not really taking a leap when you look at Sony's track record.
But I think that is the deal with. I agree 100% with what you just said. Basically, I think that's the track they took because they were like, if it's not a good movie rated R, we're going to get hosed twice.
Yeah.
If it's not a good movie rated PG, we only get hosed once.
And
of the adult radar people.
Putting Spider-Man in the movie is another red flag because when they came out originally, they said this is going to be a different universe. We're not going to have anything to do with Spider-Man or the rest of the Marvel movies. This will be the Venom universe.
Yeah, but could that have been just marketing? I mean, honestly, because like I said, I mean, I literally don't understand why you would call it a Venom movie if it has no Spider-Man.
Well, you turn Venom into the hero by the end of if they would have stuck to their guns. Venom turns into the hero, quote unquote, by the end of the movie, like your anti-hero, like a Punisher style, and then Carnage and your other guys that they introduce, and it still keeps the Venom verse.
What's the end game though?
The end game is money. They would have probably made.
Well, no, I get with that, but like
they probably would have made 3 movies and called it a day.
Yeah, but from a story perspective, what would have been the end game of Venom as a hero in a universe where we have alien symbiotes?
If we're being honest,
possessing people.
The end game doesn't exist with Sony.
Well, that's just actually
they don't think about that. My point is though,
actually.
they backed all that off
Yeah.
after the movie got screened by the higher ups. They backed it all off. They backed off the. Now they want to incorporate Spider-Man. Now they want to make sure it's PG-13 so everybody can see it. So knowing they backed all that off and wanting to shoehorn Spider-Man in it, and I know that sounds crazy to say, given he should have been in it to begin with.
Yeah.
But the point is, he wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get a shoehorn TV cameo or tack on at the end cameo, and I feel like that's a lot of red flags. The last movie we saw
actually subvert expectations and actually cameo him in the beginning.
That would be interesting. Like have him touring the facility or something when,
or have him have something to do with the initial crash, or touring the facility where the symbiote can detect his abilities. You know, that sort of situation.
I'm just saying the last time we saw this much turmoil to do with writing and ideas and all that. Now, mind you, this was much worse in terms of in terms of what happens because the director was fired and rewrites were done.
Fantastic Four.
Han Solo was the last movie we saw with that much turmoil behind the screen, and we saw that movie was not bad, but it was not as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're going to get a watered down Venom that's probably, as much as I fucking hate Rotten Tomatoes, it's probably going to land around 40 to 50%, and it's going to make them some money.
Mm-hmm.
And they may or may not cancel the sequel. I mean, at this point, who knows? They always love to say, we've already got 2 movies planned out. Woody Harrelson's already said he's contracted for 2 movies.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's probably contracted for 3 or 4, honestly. So I don't know. All that's here nor there, but mainly I'm a little disappointed that they bitched out on the rating. But either way, we get a Venom movie, and it has to be better than Spider-Man 3.
Oh God!
If we really want
Spider-Man before Homecoming is shit in my opinion, 100%.
I don't know, man.
I hate Sam Raimi's. I hate them. All 3 of them fucking suck.
Spider-Man 2 with Sam Raimi, for what it was when it came out, if you look at the time it came out, was awesome, especially with Doc Ock. Nope. It was so well done.
Because Tobey Maguire never nailed Spider-Man.
Yeah, but nobody gave a shit about that.
I gave a big shit about it.
Because Doc Ock was so well done, and he got a class actor like that to play him.
Yeah.
And then the first one, The Amazing Spider-Man.
Honestly, what's that guy done since? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name either, but he's been in a lot of he does
he
a
has
lot of
been in a lot of
movies
movies
and dramas,
and he's actually a decent actor. But I'm not gonna give it. I cannot get over the fact that Spider-Man was not a joking, smart aleck little kid like he is in the MCU. That right there ruins every single the second series with what's his name,
Andrew Garfield. The first one I thought was really good.
Those were closer.
Yeah,
he actually was a bit of a smartass.
But introducing that many villains, that many shitty villains in the second one with that terrible score, everything was bad. Yeah. And then but the first one I thought was really good. I genuinely left the theater enjoying that movie. Like I thought it was well done. And this is coming from non-Spider-Man. I'm not a Spider-Man fan. I'm just not. Yeah. I've never read the comics. The show was all right when I was a kid.
Why'd you watch the movie? Just curious.
What movie?
Spider-Man.
Oh.
If you're not a Spider-Man fan.
Because, I mean, why'd I watch Ant-Man? You know?
Why Ant-Man ties into the Marvel
Why did
universe.
I watch, not the remake of Fantastic Four, but like why did I watch the first one and the Rise of the Silver Surfer? Just because it was like, why the fuck not?
Well,
like,
Jessica Alba.
I'll just go see it.
You know.
No, nothing could save that movie. Nothing could have saved that movie.
No, I tell you better, Chris Evans.
Chris Evans as the Human Torch might have been... It might be worse than Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern.
Actually, I think Ryan Reynolds would have made a much better Human Torch.
I think he would have made a much better Human Torch, too.
Yeah.
But mainly... Well, not to go off on that.
Canadian should be on fire is what we're saying. Right?
Green Lantern, the movie, wasn't that bad if you fix the CGI. Like the movie, like if you fix the CGI and the villain.
Because the villain was a cloud.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about cloud villains.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The Hulk.
I agree.
Oh,
so
fuck you, Woo.
So that was the problem with all that shit, which nobody cares about.
I remember, and also, I will hate that man forever because of that.
You're hating the wrong person. Fucking Ang Lee directed that movie.
That's what I mean, Ang Lee.
Yeah,
John Woo's cool. Sorry,
John Woo.
Ang Lee.
We'll always have what did he do? Face Off.
Face Off.
Yeah, John Woo. Yeah. And Mission Impossible 2, the worst of the series.
Well, I think they actually both of them, Woo and the other guy, Ang Lee, actually had a history, a film career in a country called China before we ever saw him. But whatever. We'll just remember him for these shitty American movies.
Hey, John Woo had some monster hits in China. I don't know about Ang Lee, but
John Woo had like the fucking god.
Ang Lee had Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
It was a great movie. It was a great movie.
Yeah.
But no, what I'm getting at John Woo is Chow Yun Fat.
Yes.
Chow Yun Fat.
Yes.
All those movies. The Killer. Oh yeah. Now John Woo's got a hell of a history in you know.
Hey, if it wasn't for his propensity to constantly need everything done in slow motion and have dubs. You could literally open up with fucking Tom Cruise making tea, and it would be in slow motion with doves flying out of his fucking cabinet. It's ridiculous. But either way, I don't want to hate on John Woo. But either way, yeah. So that's Venom in a nutshell. Like I feel like, and we somewhat agree. Like I understand there wasn't a rated R comic, but I also understand what I was told. Yeah. And they backed off like little bitches.
I agree. I think that like I said, my whole perspective is every movie should be rated R. That's just a given. But beyond that, like, yeah, I could see biting head off, ripping people apart, would make the movie more interesting because honestly, I don't think the movie's gonna be that interesting. So
It's not about being fucking interesting when he's biting people's heads off and ripping their limbs off. It's about being brutal. Like what?
I can't being brutal. No. But you can be brutal like without the blood. You can be brutal with the interpretation of the action. I mean, there's ways to make it happen without ripping people apart.
No. All we would have, you know as well as I do, when you're dealing with this thing, same thing with Marvel and Christopher Nolan, who all refuse to show any real blood. Like, Nolan would have literal scenes with punching, stabbing, and shooting, and there would be no blood. So you'd be like, did he pass out or was he shot? Like, that's how crazy it got. So with Sony, all you would have is a bunch of fucking cutaways. That's all you would have. So you wouldn't even get the brutality of the scene because it would just be full of cutaways, and I feel like that's what we're going to get.
Let me tell you about a little bit of a brutal scene that I really love, that you agree with me, that it's amazing. It was in a PG-13 movie, was the elevator scene in Captain America Winter Soldier.
See,
that was a brutal fucking scene.
That was a great scene.
No blood.
But that was you're
he
comparing
put the beat down on 13 dudes in a fucking elevator.
Hand-to-hand combat. Like, there's not always blood in a UFC fight.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting. But that's what I'm getting at.
Venom is not fucking Captain America. He has giant teeth and a lizard tongue.
He never bit anybody in the comics.
I don't care.
Never bit a single person in the comics.
I feel like we're at an impasse. So, whatever. Like, so basically, the
I do agree. I honestly think that them bitching on a radar rating is shit.
For money. That's what pisses me off the most.
For money.
It's like, dude, all of you bastards.
They're best because they know they have a shit movie.
Yeah, and all of these bastards know, especially Marvel, they can make whatever and we'll go see it. Like, everyone will go fucking see it. That's how Marvel's always going to make money. Like, even when Marvel eventually does something stupid enough to cause one of these pointless bullshit boycotts, people are still going to line up to go see them.
Hashtag fire James Gunn. Anyway, I get that. Ugh.
So, I don't know. Either way. So, moving on from that.
Did
you have any closing notes, I should say?
No, I was done. I'm done with Venom.
Okay.
I'm done.
So, I would ask what you're doing this week, but I think I already know. You're still playing The Division.
I am still playing The Division, but I have actually moved on. I did do something new. What I did was I watched Jack Ryan on Amazon.
Okay, I was in suspense for a second. So how did you get through the whole series?
I did. I just finished watching it earlier tonight.
I have not watched any of it. Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it highly.
You know what I like, would I like it?
You're going to find some things contrite, but you would actually enjoy it. Yes.
So as a Krasinski fan, I should support him.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'll watch it. Okay.
More importantly, as an Abby Cornish fan, you should support her.
I didn't know she was in it.
She is.
So
there you go.
I can't even think of the last thing I saw with Abby Cornish.
Oh, come on. We all know it's like fucking Sucker Punch. I mean...
It might be Sucker Punch. Was she in that? I thought that was Emily Blunt.
No, Emily Blunt was not in Sucker Punch.
Not Emily Blunt. Emily Browning.
Emily Browning was also in Sucker Punch.
Okay, so
they're
that
both
movie.
in Sucker Punch.
By the way, I wish you hadn't fucking mentioned that movie.
I know. That's a whole other topic right there.
That trailer sold me on a crazy, whacked out, awesome Zack Snyder movie.
Yes, that was the advent of the trailer. That was the advent of the trailer as bait to watch a movie.
That trailer got $10 from me. I'll never get back.
Exactly. That trailer made that movie look so amazing.
That movie was a fucking
movie
mess.
And you're like, oh shit, this is terrible.
So you watched 300, which was not a terrible movie, but it was good action with Zack Snyder. He filmed it well. He basically ushered in a new era. Him and Frank Miller helped usher in new eras of how we film movies. Sin City, 300. Yeah. So then you get Sucker Punch. And then he does Watchmen, which I thought was very well done.
Was Sucker Punch, it was after 300.
Yes, it was after 300. So then I don't know who, like, Watchmen was good, but it was very muddled. Like, it was a great movie. I loved it.
Better than the director's cut.
The director's cut was very good too. Yeah, it was an improvement. But it was very muddled. So I don't know how Zack Snyder landed a gig running the DC. Because Man of Steel was good, like, in the first act. And maybe half the second act. But then it turned to shit. Yeah. So I don't know how he landed.
I love that movie. I just like that movie because there's, we're opposites. I like Superman, you like Batman, whatever. But the point is I actually really like the movie. But I 100% agree that the first and middle of the second act were great. And the third act was just like, what the fuck?
Well, I will say, because this is for a different topic.
World engines?
Because I'm pretty...
I mean, like, what do you steal, like, a Trek from fucking Image Comics back with fucking Wildcats when, like, Mr. Majestic found a fucking Shaper engine?
Don't get it out of your system, because that's a whole different talking point. We have, at some point, we're going to get to Batman versus Superman and DC in general. But I will tell you this, spoiler alert for whoever's seen fucking Man of Steel, like, came out like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Is the second he killed General Zod, you lost any resemblance to Superman. He snapped the neck of one of his most notorious villains.
The literal only upside to that was you actually had a direct link to why Batman vs Superman was so dark. Why they hated Superman. because he killed somebody.
But
in the comics, he never killed anybody. Well, he did eventually, but that's just.
But I don't want to talk about Batman vs Superman because we're going to later, and I
Yeah.
have a lot to say about that movie because I
Okay.
fucking loved it. But anyway, so you've been playing The Division, and you watched Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
I will watch Jack Ryan at some point since you have recommended it. I was on
Yeah.
the fence about it. I don't really like a lot of government espionage bullshit.
It's
But-
I do what I liked about it was good updating, modern day updating, like with where we're at now versus like back in the fucking 80s or whenever they were doing Cold War bullshit. Jack
Yeah.
Ryan originally, so I like that. I liked it 1,000% better than that Chris Pine movie.
So Chris Pine, Harrison Ford, and Alec Baldwin have all played him.
That's correct.
Okay.
Of those three, Alec Baldwin is the best one I like just because I really like Hunt for Red October.
I just like Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, and I didn't like the Clear and Pleasant Danger and that other one he did, and that other one he did with Harrison Ford.
I don't really like Harrison Ford.
I like Harrison Ford.
He's just
but
not that good of an actor.
He
was,
actually isn't that good.
He
of
was
an
in
actor.
Indiana Jones, which
Yeah.
is
Amazing
some of the
series.
greatest
Yeah.
adventure movies ever
Yeah.
made, and obviously everyone knows he was Han Solo.
What?
But
He's
he's
in
not-
Star Wars?
But he's not that good of an actor. And yeah, either way, that's
Yeah.
that was it.
But yeah, no, I do recommend it. So what have you been up to?
Well, I am playing a game, and it's newer than Diablo,
Uh-huh.
but it's still a few years old. Borderlands 2. Fucking love that game. Anybody has never played it, it's a shooter RPG mashup. It's wacky. It's like Mad Max on drugs kind of thing, just with silliness and awesome. It's very mature, so yeah.
I haven't
like
played it, but
language
I've
and all
seen
that.
you play it, and it does look entertaining as
Yeah,
hell.
it's very entertaining. And I'm also catching up on Ray Donovan. I can't believe I forgot to watch season 5 because I love
Ray
that
Donovan,
show.
That shows it's a show. Yeah.
Hey, that's a popular show, man. That's a Showtime anchor. I mean, it's Showtime, but
You know,
yeah.
that actually leads me into a weird thing. I know we're going long, but Liv Schreiber, whatever.
Liev Schreiber.
He's like that guy.
He is a god among men, but go ahead.
John Rappaport, what's his name?
Michael
Michael
Rappaport?
Rappaport. Okay, those are two guys.
Please don't put them in the
No,
same thought.
here's the only same thought they're in.
Okay.
Is for me, they both nailed being an asshole, slimy villain so well in one movie way back in their history that I don't like them.
Are you referencing him in Scream?
I'm referencing Schreiber in Phantoms.
Oh, well, dude, he was awesome.
Phantom Show.
Okay. Jay and Silent Bob. Yeah, no, like
You the
Phantoms.
bomb in Phantoms, Joe.
Yeah, Phantoms is bitching for real.
I love
Like,
that movie. Actually,
It's a fucking
I
amazing
actually
movie.
do-
Like Ben Affleck,
yeah.
it was a great movie.
Yeah.
But come on, man.
But anyway, no, and Michael Rappaport was in that movie with the glasses guy from fucking Miami CSI, the redhead guy that everybody loves to hate.
Caruso? David Caruso?
Yeah, Dave Caruso. Yeah, and that movie was also Linda Fiorentina. God, I can't remember what the name of the movie was. But anyway, yeah, he played the slimy bastard rapist bad guy so well that I hated him for years. But anyway, so that's just my personal hang up. Anyway,
Liev Schreiber and Ray Donovan is phenomenal.
I have been meaning to at some point watch that show.
Well, I'll tell you, I watched the movie when I was like 14 about Hollywood fixers. If you don't know what a fixer is, it's a guy that fixes problems. Pretty self-explanatory. Blackmail, do whatever you need to do to fix things. And I always wanted to be a fixer. I was obsessed with it. I thought it was great. Have dirt on people, get them to do what you want to do.
The Wolf.
Make a lot of money. Yeah.
Pulp Fiction.
So basically, I don't want to clean up dead bodies.
Well, he was a fixer. He did
Yeah.
whatever he needed to be.
But,
he didn't clean up shit. He made them do
That's
it.
true.
And
That's
he hung
true.
out with Tarantino.
That's true. But no, he does a phenomenal job. It's not. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like up there with like in the upper echelon with like Sopranos and shit. But it's a great show. I forgot to watch season 5. My sister reminded me, so I watched it. So yeah, no, it's good, and that's basically what I've been watching. It's not a bad show. Anybody that has a Showtime ad on a Hulu, any of that, you can watch it for free all 5 seasons. Or
Yeah.
not free. I think it's like $9.
Well,
a
like I
month.
said, as much as I have that weird ass personal shit, I've heard it's a great movie or a great show, and I've actually it is on my list to someday watch.
John Voight just hams that shit up, man. He hams it up so
He's been
much,
hamming
dude.
it up since Heat.
Yeah, no, but he just hams it up so much in this show as like the crazy Irish born Southie. Like it's just really he's great. But so yeah, that's what I'm doing this week. But yeah, I'll make sure I watch Jack Ryan at some point.
Yeah, John Voight. He's old enough that he should be in westerns, which
Dude.
actually leads into a fun fact of mine. But go ahead.
Well, I just can't believe how he looks for his age because he has to be old. He actually doesn't look that bad.
He's Angelina Jolie's father.
Yeah,
which is
so
the
like,
weirdest thing ever.
So he has to be in his early 70s.
ugly
Oh, he's
man.
an ugly dude. I
think Angelina's mother must be the most beautiful woman in the world because Jolie's actually hot, or has been in the past. She's kind of looking a little ragged these days. But point is, he's so ugly, she's so beautiful. The mom must be like a goddess.
I don't know. Every time I think of John Voight, I think of Anaconda, and I think of his terrible accent.
That was a great.
And I think of just
the one
his
with
performance. Yeah, man. Yeah. I think
And
Ice Cube. Yeah.
Anyway, with Ice Cube is better for having Ice Cube in it.
That is very true. So what was your fun fact leading into?
Westerns. So there are a category of westerns out there called red westerns or easterns. You ever heard of these?
No.
These were
Red westerns.
propaganda-style films made during the Cold War and after, a little bit after, by Russia and Germany that basically tell the history of America from the perspective of the Native Americans. So America are the aggressive evil that come in and destroy the peaceful society that exists.
That's interesting.
A friend of ours, Adam, told me about that actually, and I was like, I'd never heard of that ever.
I'll have to look some of those up because I'm curious.
Yeah, no, we'll throw some links down there for you guys as well. But the gist of it is, there's one of them called the Sons of Great Bear, which is one of it's the epitome of the anti. One talks about a native who is his father's killed by a white man. And he's tracked, and he becomes like the war leader of the Lakota or whatever. And he has a cave where their sacred relics are at, and there's gold in there. And the white man is still trying to like torture him and kill him and try to get the gold and whatnot. And he eventually, I think, escapes to Canada, or what was it, Canadian territory at the time, which I think was Missouri. But anyway, it was an interesting thing to me, is like that there were propaganda films that were anti-cowboy, anti-American expansionism, which, you know, it makes sense. I mean, obviously,
it makes total sense. I love westerns.
We weren't the good guys in a lot of the old, West shit. I mean, but the westerns did actually ascribe to make American culture what it is, with the lone man out against in the
we greatly romanticize the West.
Yeah,
and this is coming from a Western fan. I love
Exactly.
John Wayne, Clint Eastwood. I love spaghetti westerns, but we greatly romanticized it.
Exactly.
Like the Native Americans were always the bad guy.
Yeah.
They were always like, so it's really like, it's interesting to see that. Like,
and so it's interesting that like other cultures that we deal with now like had that foresight that to make that the problem or whatever. But there also was another category of Easterns which actually dealt with. They took the main tropes of the westerns, which the settlers fighting the natives or whatever. They put it in their own areas, like the Asian steppes, the mountains and whatnot out there against the native people versus the Orthodox Russians that were moving east or whatever out into Siberia and stuff like that. So there is a whole other category of that, but the main one, like I said, was an anti-American expansionist, anti-cowboy. Propaganda basically films, and I don't know if they're actually. I keep saying propaganda, but I don't know if they're propaganda. Maybe they may be more accurate than ours were. Who knows?
That's what I was just thinking. Like, can we really call these propaganda
I don't know.
films?
Maybe they're actual. Can we call them historically accurate? I don't know, but yeah.
That's interesting. I will look that up, and I'll actually probably watch one because I love westerns. I mean, So.
Yeah.
Did you have any other fun facts?
No, not for tonight.
Well, mine is not nearly as interesting as yours, but yeah, no, I'm a big Charlie Chaplin fan. Like City Lights, I love Charlie Chaplin. He was a pretty tortured soul. Like, he was just an interesting dude.
He was a very interesting guy.
And I got introduced to him. I didn't even get introduced to him because of Charlie Chaplin. I got introduced to him because I watched Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. playing him.
I thought it was going to be that one, the one with Johnny Depp where he plays a guy that acts like Chaplin.
No.
Yeah, that was a terrible movie.
But yeah, so I watched Robert Downey Jr. play Chaplin. I think it was in the early 90s, and it was just such an amazing performance. So I looked up Chaplin, and I am by no means a silent film connoisseur. Like, I like the general, I like certain movies. Like, I love City Lights, but I'm not the biggest fan of silent films. But anyway, Charlie Chaplin was really cool. And I don't know if this might be a well-known fact or among cinephiles or whatever, but at the height of his popularity, Charlie Chaplin was in San Francisco when he decided to enter a lookalike competition, Charlie Chaplin lookalike competition. So he enters it in, and he goes in there and he does whatever they had to do, like I'm sure perform something and just act like Charlie Chaplin. Anyway, he came in 20th place.
20th?
Yeah, so the actual Charlie Chaplin entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest, and he came in 20th.
Did he eventually reveal who he was?
I'm sure he did.
Everybody feel stupid?
I hope he did, but he's also that kind of guy. He probably just walked home hat in hand. It's pretty fucked up.
You
So,
bastards.
No, dude, that was...
I was just calling into question. I would call into question the judges on that one. It's like, really, what are you looking for as a
Yeah, are you looking
Chaplin?
for a super over-the-top, like, oh, that is the best Charlie Chaplin?
Maybe he took it home as like basically as what does he do as Charlie Chaplin that is perceived as Charlie Chaplin? So what does he need to do more of in order to become better as Charlie Chaplin?
Well, that in and of itself is a question to go along with this, which is, what did they make them do? Did they just all stand on stage in a line and they went through, you look like him, so you get first, you get second? Did they make them do something? Because if they made them do something out of the movies, that is no longer a Charlie Chaplin contest. That is a Charlie Chaplin the actor contest.
Right.
Because Charlie Chaplin obviously was different in real life.
I think it probably was just a look-alike situation.
So that's even funnier, because Charlie Chaplin, everybody knows what he looks like.
But maybe he wasn't made up as much. Maybe he didn't have his makeup people with him. Because he always had, back in the day, they had super white face that show up on camera and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about that the actual dude came in 20th place, man. And yeah, it's like that Adele lookalike where people, women would show up and they would sing, and Adele showed up and nobody knew it was her. So they're all like saying, "Oh man, you look just like her." Like, it's a great video. I'll put it in the show notes. It's a really funny video. So everybody's like, "You look just like Adele. That's crazy. Like, man, who does your hair? Who does your makeup?" And they're all saying wonderful things about Adele. So like, it's not one of those stories where you hear people talk shit about you.
Yeah.
So then she gets up there when it's her turn and takes the fucking walls down. Like, she just sings, and like everyone immediately knows that's the real Adele. Everybody freaks out. It's a really funny video. But it's no one knew it was her until she sang. That's just so weird to me. Like,
well, maybe Charlie Chaplin should have been a singer. Maybe he shouldn't start in silent films.
That's true. Maybe he should have
been waiting for the talkies.
Hey, I'm pretty sure Charlie Chaplin was in the camp of the talkies were going to ruin everything.
Oh, I'm sure he was hardcore. Like,
but
I gotta talk my way through these weird ass physical stunts. I don't know. I can't act. I can just do weird shit.
But yeah, that's my fun fact. Not as interesting as revisionist westerns, but yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna look that up because I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'll check your link for the Adele video because that sounds funny.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. Yeah, I liked it. So we got anything else?
I think that's gonna have to conclude it. I don't have anything else.
Well, guys, follow us on Instagram at the Discord Accords. That'll be in the show notes. Follow us on Facebook, the Discord Accords. And we'll have our website, discordaccords.com. And just check there. And just thanks for listening. And hope you guys have a good one.
All right, yeah. Take care out there.